Well, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for joining us for WJTS in.form. I'm your host, Bill Potter. We are honored to have in the studio with us Lieutenant Governor Sue Ellspermann, who is home for the holidays, for at least Thanksgiving. Welcome, Lieutenant Governor. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you, Bill, for having me.
I guess it's good to be home to Ferdinand for the for Thanksgiving celebrations.
It absolutely is. It's always good to be back in Du Bois County.
Well, we're glad to have you here. Now, let's talk about, you have just finished your county Listen and Learn sessions, and Du Bois County was the final one.
That's right.
How did that wrap up?
It wrapped up beautifully with Du Bois County being the 92nd county and Ferdinand being the finish line on Friday afternoon. The 92 county tour was fabulous to learn what's working in our communities, what the challenges are, and with business and agriculture to understand how we help it to continue to grow so that we can support job creation in Indiana. So we have a lot of learnings. We're working hard on the report now that will go up on our website before the end of the year, and we are using those findings as we look forward to making administrative adjustments within agencies, et cetera, and then looking forward to a legislative session.
Now, not that we want to let any secrets out or make any commitments on things that you've learned, but is there a difference in the way people in southern Indiana are thinking as opposed to central Indiana, as opposed to northern Indiana? Did you find that surprising?
There are each community in each county, and they can be two contiguous counties, and they can still be very different. You know, where in one area they'll be fiscally sound and things are going well and they're very optimistic, and then county next door can be challenged in equal numbers of ways. So I don't know that it's as much geography. I think there are some urban versus rural issues, and for instance, I will use a rural broadband as one of those areas where we know that is more of a unique challenge to rural Indiana. Broadband is already well adopted in our urban centers, just not so much throughout true rural. Our towns have it, but getting it out into the more rural areas. So that's very different. And then you have some areas like infrastructure, which are common to both settings, and the needs for improved roads, bridges, et cetera.
And probably everybody always says we need more jobs, but we also need better paying jobs.
Yeah. On the jobs front, as we went out with business and ag, there are thousands, probably tens of thousands of jobs in Indiana out there, just as we have an abundance of jobs in Du Bois County now as the lowest unemployment in the state. But we have a mismatch of the skills, so lots of those jobs employers are finding difficult to fill because they require skills like maintenance workers, technicians, jobs that require certification, and we have too many unskilled workers out there that don't have those skills yet. So the workforce became and has been a real strong theme throughout, that employers have said, help us get this skilled workforce because we have the jobs. We want to hire more Hoosiers, and so certainly I think that with those higher skilled jobs comes higher pay. So that's the reason we really need to work on that challenge.
Now, you're finding these things out through the Listen and Learn tour. Is this something brand new?
No. It had been, career and technical ed had been one of the governor's top priorities as we ran last year and then as we've come in. But I think what was reaffirmed was how important and how quickly we need to move. So the Indiana Careers Council that I vice chair with the governor at the State House is one of those forums that we're really bringing all the parties to the table and trying to figure out how do we create these pathways in parallel to the regional works councils and the efforts the locals are doing, like VUJ here with CTIM, and developing programs that really help bring people into the career opportunities that are here, train them while putting them in the workforce at the same time. So I think it's one of those where we're understanding just how big. I think we knew it was big. Having been out in 92 counties, I know it's a really big, high priority for us to get right. And if Indiana does it right, we will be creating a strong economy for many years to come and great opportunities for Hoosiers.
And Indiana is doing well.
We are. But you know what? Governor and my goal is more jobs in Indiana than ever before, a new high water mark for the state. And you know, we still have 120 or so thousand of those jobs. We want to make sure that every Hoosier has an opportunity for a good job and that we can continue to grow as a state, and that requires that strong economy. So though we're doing well by most metrics, remember our theme is good to great. So getting to great requires a little more movement yet.
Well, we're already good, so let's
get great.
We're gooder now. Is that even? I don't know.
I won't say that, but you can, Bill.
Well, yeah, my English is great. Let's talk now about the Blue Ribbon Commission. And how you've named some local folks to
Yes,
that, and
yes.
it's going well.
The Blue Ribbon Panel on Transportation Infrastructure is its full name, and it was the governor appointed me as co-chair along with Kathy Langham, who is a logistics company owner, very experienced in logistics. So kind of I represent the governmental view, she the private sector. And with that panel, we do have Hank Menke serving from here in Du Bois County. We also have the mayor of Evansville, Lloyd Winnicky, serving on the committee. So we want, around that table, we have really done a great job of bringing both, you know, Hank with OFS, both being a logistics company and a manufacturer, so we have a number of those. We represent also the ports, the airports, rail, so we have a number of those companies that are users of those services, as well as the mayors who represent communities' point of view and the infrastructure needs. So we are at work. The governor set 3 priorities. One was, first is to take care of what you have, make sure that we are as a state taking care of the infrastructure we have, finish what you start. So I-69 projects like that get finished. And then the third one, which is really the panel's focus, is planning for the future. And so 10 years out, what will we be looking at? And we have somewhere short of 30 projects to prioritize, of which I-67 is one of those, to really look at the economic impact, the quality of life impacts, and recommend to the governor and INDOT a prioritization of those, as well as some recommendations on synergies and ways of funding, et cetera.
I think oftentimes when we think of infrastructure, we think of roads because that's what we drive on in our personal vehicles. Most of us don't have a train,
Right.
and so we're not going on the rails, or we don't necessarily have an airport or a pilot, but we do a great airport in Huntingburg, or a port. And especially in this area, we're not realizing, you know, the Ohio River running along southern
Lake
Indiana
Michigan.
and Lake Michigan. So that's a whole part of this too that we need to be thinking about.
So INDOT really is tasked with all transportation infrastructure in the state. So we, of those short of 30 projects, several of those are ports projects. Could you imagine if we couldn't move product by barge down the Ohio River or not? You know, the locks and dams, the issues there. Lake Michigan, the same way. All of the freight that moves in Burns Harbor and other areas, and opportunities there. But also passenger rail is something that in our urban centers are talking more about. Is there a point where we should be considering passenger rail in Indiana? Of course, Indianapolis has a strong interest in that, but you know, also the connectedness to Northwest Indiana with the big metropolitan areas in Chicago. So I think there are, you know, we have to look at them all with a fresh pair of eyes, but then do the critical work of analyzing the economic impact that goes with these decisions, the investments that would be required, and the impact on quality of life.
Well, Tom Utter with the economic development in Spencer County at one time told me, he said, I don't think people realize that the amount of merchandise or goods that pass below Spencer County on the Ohio River is greater than goes through the Suez Canal.
Yeah. Oh, well, and I always term the Ohio River as an interstate for barges. You know, they don't go as fast, but if you really sat and watched the amount of traffic, and it is tremendous. And the opportunities for Indiana to be even more engaged with more ports. You know, Mount Vernon is a very strong port up by Jeffersonville. We've got great lands along our Ohio River, and we could do more to exploit. We know with I-67 that might open up some opportunities for more to happen there as well. So yes, I think it's a big opportunity. Indiana really is a crossroads of America. We have a great opportunity to become even a stronger logistics player nationally, but in order to do that, we have to have world-class infrastructure.
And you have the right group together to
I
do
think
that.
we do. It's not a small task,
No.
and it will. I'm sure that there will be questions on the work that's done. But it's important that we have a group like this take this big picture look and try to make recommendations for the state.
Well, we thank you for coming in, and we wish you and Jim
Yeah.
a very happy Thanksgiving, and to our listeners as well. Our guest has been Lieutenant Governor Sue Ellspermann, who has joined us in the studio. She'll be back again next week, as we'll have another show concerning other issues that deal with Indiana.
Well, and if I can just wish
Sure.
all those listening a happy Thanksgiving as well. May you have a safe and wonderful time with your families.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Sue Ellspermann. Thank you for watching. This is WJTS. We are local people watching local people.